Tim Watkins, otherwise known as Base Resonator here. I'm going to be doing a collaboration with Let's Resin, and in order for me to do that, they sent me this kit and this mold, which is a charcuterie board. This resin kit with a heat gun. There's some pipettes. There are some gloves. I definitely will be using gloves. If you are going to be using any type of resin, you need to take precautions. There's also little mixing pots. These are for smaller things. I will be using these. I'm going to be using 2 of these mixing pots. These are, I think, 100 milliliters. Yep. Silicone brush to smooth certain things out. I am going to use this. This is a white resin paste. It's very thick, and a little goes a very long way. It's kind of cool. It it twists on, but then there's another little twist. So that's where you're going to be squirting the paste out of, and then you put that lid back on there and seals it up, and it keeps airtight. Kit, there are a bunch of stir sticks. I will use a few of those. Okay, and then we have some mica powders. We've got quite an assembly, 12 different colors. In the next project I'm going to be using these, dark blue and the cyan or light blue. I am going to use this resin, 1-to-1 resin. That means you use the same amount of part B and part A. So you have to mix, and I'll show you how to mix them in just a bit. But this is an epoxy resin, and it's a 1-to-1, so it's a thicker resin. There is a deep pour resin, which is very thin, and it takes a lot longer to cure. This will probably take 8 to 12 hours to cure, 4.5 hours if I'm going to do layers, which I am going to do in this one. So I will come back after about 4.5 and check it. If it's still real sticky, I'm not going to use it. But if it's just a little bit tacky, but sort of solidified, then I will be able to use the next layer. But I am going to be using these. Let's Resin also sent me this new, and I call it 1-to-1 resin because that's what it is. There's a part A and a part B, and they use the same amount of each. But this is turquoise. It's already colored. I don't have to worry about adding colorant to it. Now, colorant are those mica powders, pastes. Let's Resin also has resin dyes, which I will use a little bit of this. I already had this set. Definitely I'm going to be using this heat gun. Now in this kit there also is a instruction manual. The heat gun, it produces a lot of heat, but it's sort of like a super intense hair dryer. You don't want to use this for hair dryer though. You will burn your head, and that would not be good. Let's Resin sends their molds in these nice Ziploc bags, and when you are done with your project, with your piece, make sure it's all cleaned up and then put it back in here for protection, because silicone has this tendency to attract dust. You start getting dust in there, you look at them and you're like, oh, they're silver. I'm going to take 2 of those. One I'm going to use for the white, because you don't just squirt this in, you have to mix it in with some of the resin, because if you just squirt it in, it's too thick. You need to mix it with resin. Okay, I'm going to use these 2. There are different ways to measure your resin. On the sides here are numbers, 20, 40, 60, 80, and 100. Part B is less viscous. It's less thick than part A. And because of that, you want to put it in your mixing cup first. If you put part A in first, you'll end up having some places where you don't mix it well, and you'll have a sticky mess. Instead of it curing like it should, you'll end up having it not good, and you don't want that. So you put part B in first. So you'd put part B up to 40, and then you'd go to part A and you take it up to 80. Now, if you look at them, there's the same amount in each, but this weighs less. So sometimes I measure my resin instead of by volume, but I'm going to do it by volume because that's what Let's Resin sent me. I'll use a kitchen scale and turn it on and do it by weight. Now if you're going to do it by weight, and some types of epoxy want you to do it that way, sometimes they say right on the label by volume, which means measure 40 and then measure another 40 to get to 80. Some say measure by weight. So I'm going to do it by volume since that's what Let's Resin sent me. Now I'm going to build a seascape, but I'm going to do it in layers. I don't want to go too deep on the first layer, so I think I'm going to go 60 milliliters of clear, and then add a little bit of that clear to one of those little mixing pots over here, and I'll put in a drop of this peacock blue resin dye, and then I'll put a little bit more of the clear in the other pot and mix in the ocean white paste. In the other one I will mix up 60 milliliters total, so 30, which is right there. I will do the turquoise. So what I'm going to do is I also have some sand, and I have some stones, but I'm going to have these stones be my pier, but I'm going to have them in the handle area. I have some craft sand. It's very, very thin, but when it mixes with the resin, it turns that light brown. So I'm going to have the sand down here. This is going to be the beach, and this is going to be my little pier area, so that's where I'm going to have the stones. Then we have the water. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the turquoise area in this section as it gets deeper water. Okay, and then here's where I'm going to have the clear, and I'm going to meld them. I could use this thing to swirl it together, and as resin cures, it moves as it moves from the outside in. So even though I may put the resin just like I want it, it's going to move. But so I'm going to mix it a little bit. But on the coastal area, I want it clear, because if you go to the water or you go to the beach, it doesn't look blue unless you're looking out in the deeper water. Right on the edge, it looks clear. So I'm going to have the clearish water here, and I'm going to do a layer, and I'm going to have some waves here. But I'm also going to have some deep water waves, and there's a different way to do deep water waves as opposed to the waves that are breaking onto the shore. So I'm going to show you both, and it's a technique with the heat gun. So I'm going to mix up some resin. I'll get my sand over here. Cup 1, mixing cup 2. Okay, part B. I want to get to 30 mils, or 30 milliliters. And look at this. If you have a pet, like I do, make sure you get all stray hairs out the way. This is something you really ought to do. After you've poured, wipe that edge, because if you don't, even though you put the lid on, that little drop will come out and slide down and get all over whatever. Okay. But there are little streaks. When we start mixing, we stir until there are no streaks. Some people set a timer and they go 3.5 minutes to 4 minutes. I don't do that. I do something different. I am a musician, and a guy that's been doing resin work for many years, and he just turns on the songs, and when he gets to about 3-minute songs and plays the music until that song is over, and then he should be done. At least that's what works for him. This is the first time using this. Ooh, pretty. Now, epoxy stick. I'm going to use one in the blue and one in here. Now what I do, what works for me, I have a good sense of rhythm. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, and I'm turning the thing at the same time. 3, 2, 3, 4. Now notice I've already stirred in a couple bubbles. The slower you stir, the less bubbles you will have. You don't want bubbles. Bubbles will mess stuff up. 1, 2, 3, 4. As I'm turning the cup as I'm doing this, and I'm scraping the side of the cup with my stick. Very important, because the resin will hang out on the edge of the cup, or the mixing cup, and will sit there, and even though you stir and stir and stir, there will be some unmixed on the sides. So you want to make sure you are scraping the sides as you mix. Okay, and also scrape the bottom, because the same concept of resin sort of doesn't want to get mixed up, so you have to be smarter than it. 30. Now I'm not moving the cup around anymore because I've already scraped off the stick on this side, and I want to do the same. Okay, so I get to 30, now I do the same thing. I flip the stick over. 31, 32, 33. You know, I said I was going to use that clear with that peacock blue. I'm going to use a little bit of this. Okay, so I'm going to pour a little bit of this into this blue and let the bubbles rise. Just going to use one drop of this. This is super potent. Wow, having a hard time with the words. Okay, just one drop is all it's going to take. Now I'm using my Giganto Black Let's Resin silicone mat. So sometimes you can't see the colors really well, but that's much darker than the other. I'll bring it over here and show it to you. Okay, wipe off your stick. You can use that again. Look at the difference. A little bit darker. Yep. Okay, let those sit over there. Now to mix this. Okay, you don't need to watch. I'm gonna do the same exact procedure, except instead of putting that peacock blue in there, well, I'll come back to you when I mix in that white. But you don't need to watch me do the white. Now all this is gonna take is one drop of this white. It is super powerful, and it is opaque. A transparent dye. Now watch this. Just that one drop. Could go thicker, but I don't want to at this point. I may go thicker on the next layer that I pour. But that right there looks like 2% milk. Now with these little rocks, which are going to be my pier, I'm going to put a little bit of this clear to hold them in place. Just pour a little bit right there. And I'm going to do the same thing over on this side where I'm going to put my sand. Remember, I'm going layers, so I don't need to worry about filling up this whole mold. So now, drop these stones in, and the resin will just go right around it. So this is my pier. This, the resin is already gathered around the stones up there. Now why did I put that in first, not the sand first? Because the sand doesn't always allow the resin to get on the bottom, and then when you unmold it, and I know from experience, when you unmold it you end up having crusty parts that just fall off. I may have to put some more sand in here. Maybe not. I am no good with my left hand. If you want to know that, the reason for that, you'll have to watch some of my other videos. Old American football injury. Maybe that was too much information for you, maybe not enough. If it's not enough, go watch some of my other videos. Something I shouldn't do. Scrape it against the side. Why did I say that? Because now it's going to leave sand all the way to the top. But I can scratch that down a little bit, and then I don't. Coolness. Now, resin does something called self-leveling. And so you don't have to sit there and worry about, oh, I put too much over here. It's going to move. I hope I have enough resin to do this first layer. If not, I guess I can mix up a little bit more. Really rather not do that, but and if you're on a flat surface, you shouldn't have any trouble. Which this is a flat surface. And I'm looking around the edge there. I see a bubble over there against the wall of that. I'm going to leave this cup draining right there as I go over here with the toothpick, being careful not to scrape it, but just coax it away from the edge. I don't see any more there. you don't have waves crashing onto the shore. They're just sort of every once in a while. So I'm going to add these out here to add it, make it look sort of like a current. Got them in a straight row. I'm in a straight line. That's not good. And just a little bit. I'm going to turn on that heat gun, and it makes quite a noise. So if you need to turn your volume down while I'm doing that, you're more than welcome to do so. And what I have found is you don't want to put too much wave stuff down all at once, because it loses its integrity. See, I'm not doing these like I will on the shore. I'm going to put this on, there's two settings. There's a 1 and a 2. I'm going to go to 1. 2 would be a little bit too much. Now I'm going to come straight down on them and just blow the white. Now that I've gone straight down on them, now I blow them. Now remember, these are going to be in layers, so when I come over it with some more blue later on, this is not going to be seen very much. So it's going to be a rumbling of the water from down below. So you can sort of see some patterns going on. Now it's going to be a totally different thing up here on the shore. I'm just going to go straight along. Sometimes there's a little bit further up. Sometimes a little bit further back. Away from the shore, you just get it at that angle and just blow until it spreads out. Now I want to blow them back up on the shore, so it looks like waves crashing up onto the shore. Then here's a little cool trick. I got some alcohol. It's in a lens cleaner thing. Don't worry about that. Just spritz it right over the top, right over the wave area, and it will help those cells develop even more. See those happening right there? Coolness. And that looks really neat. And look out here, this with that darker blue that I put in there and the white, it just sort of adds motion. When I come back in with another layer over the top, it's going to add even more. Now, I need to put some of these shells in. So this one is a gigantic one. So I'm going to put it over here. The starfish. I'm going to put it on the last layer, because I don't want it to get covered by waves. I've got some colorful ones here. Don't want that side. Well, that's okay. Another colorful one right here in the middle. 4 hours or so before I can come back in with another layer. Okay, this is cured up pretty well. Notice how I told you that when resin cures, it pulls towards the middle, away from the edges. Look what it did to the white waves. Now what? Is it ruined? No. And look what it did out here. I'm going to show you something. We're going to do an intermediate pour of just a little bit of clear and more waves. What we had last time was the whole tray was full. Now we're only going to lay the area that we want to have those waves show up. Oh, also, I put on here, let me zoom in, and I have a fish, little one. These are about a ½ inch long each, and I stuck down the top part, and I'm going to put a little bit of the clear, and then I'm going to put the white right in front of it, and then I'll blow that over the top, and that will reveal little stickers so that they will be sealed in all the way. I don't have to worry about me touching it. And now I'm going to go right on top of the clear. Remember, the deep water waves, you want them to blow straight down on them. Okay, cover your ears if this is too loud. Let's push it a little bit that way. Put a little bit of that clear right there, and a little bit of the white right on the rocks. White on the rocks. Ain't no big surprise. Yeah, Neil Diamond, one of my favorite singers from the old days. I'm going to blow this outwards, and then I'm going to come back in with it. And as this cures, it's not going to go anywhere, like, because I'm not filling up the whole thing. If I would have let this thicken up a little bit more, I would get more cells than what I'm getting right now. But what I'm really wanting to do, I'm going to come back in about 15 minutes and put a little bit more white. But I want that where it's breaking onto the beach to be really nice and pronounced. Okay, so now get my alcohol, get a couple squirts on it, see what happens. Now, watch what happens when I come back in 15 minutes. Okay, for you, it's going to be a matter of seconds. For me, I had a little bit of the clear left over, so I mixed in some more of that resin dye and I put it in a couple spots. So now I want to add a little bit more ocean deep water action, closer to shore action. Alcohol, spray it from a distance. You don't want to spray right on top because you'll end up having a big mess. But if you spray from a distance and just let it come down. But I like how I have a demarcation line right there between a wave and another wave, where one's going out and another one's coming in over the top. Spray just a little bit more heat. And the heat gun. You don't want to stay too long in one area with the heat gun because it'll put so much heat through and it will cause the resin to stick to the mold, and then to unmold it, you end up ruining the mold. So you got to be really careful. Okay, so see that fish out here in the deep water and the turtle, sea turtle there. We got turbulent stuff on the coast or on the shore. So yeah. It's coming. It's coming. We're still building in layers. Layer, layer, layer. And good things are going to happen soon. Even more than what we have right now. Okay. One more layer. Now if you'll notice, those cells that I had, even though I didn't have very much resin in here, sucked in together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this continual white, but I'm going to blow it out much further. So... And I waited till this got pretty thick, so it should have some sticky power. I have a little bit more in this mixing thing of that clear, and it's raining again. There's some type of tropical depression out in the Gulf. Okay, we're getting some cells to develop on their own. Now, get some of that alcohol in there, and hopefully, magic. There, you starting to see it happen? It's crazy what happens when you get that alcohol in there. Okay, now we sit and wait again. That's cured up relatively nicely, and I don't know if you can see it yet. Action going on in these waves right here is already 3D. It's like it's really turbulent water there. Okay, so I mixed up some more of the turquoise, no clear this time, and I mixed up some turquoise with the peacock blue, and so the peacock blue area is going to be this deeper water. And I've got mixed up, and this is about 70 of the turquoise. So I'm gonna pour in and I gotta keep watching around the outside to make sure I don't have any bubbles try and form up against the outside of that mold. Now this going over the top without putting any more wave action on this layer should cause it to, oh yeah, look at that. Remember I was telling you about the deep water waves? Yeah. And now we go in with the lighter color. I don't think it's going to come all the way up onto this shoreline the whole way. It'll get close. We'll go into this area though. It may try and level out. And that fish that's way in that deep end, and the turtle, they have gone below. Look at that 3D action going on there. Look at that. There's the turtle. There's the fish out there in the real deep water. When I pull it out of the mold, it's going to be just beautiful. And I'll take it out into the sunshine. You'll have a good glimpse of what those colors are looking like. Now you see this is creeping up into this, which is fine. Then we're going to still have room for another layer. Remember, this is all about layers, building these waves. Turquoise color, and turquoise over that darker will make it even a darker color. So that's going to be nice. And the turquoise over this is going to be nice, but I'm going to have clear here, and I'm going to blow it out with a big wave, and I'm going to push that all the way across as much as I can. Hopefully when it retracts in a little bit with the curing process, it'll leave it enough to where those cells will be really nice. Now, when I do that one, I'm definitely going to wait longer for me to put that white down so that it won't be able to retract as much. It'll already be thick enough to where it'll stay in place. That's the plan. Let's Resin. I hope you're happy with this. And if you are a beginner starting out, I think I've shown you that even if you have something that's not quite working like you want it to, like that one time I put the white in before I should have, still blow it out and let it take its thing, and then come back with a little bit later and put some more over the top and get a better action. So it gives it this turbulent seas. Now, this is going to be completely flat. There isn't going to be any waves on the top making it a 3D thing. So that if somebody wanted to use this as a tray to take drinks around at a party or something of that sort, you're more than welcome to do so, except for these two shells and this one. They're going to be a little bit higher than the edge of the depth of the mold. So everything else is going to be flat, but those things will be sticking up. So if you put a glass right there, it's probably going to fall over, so don't do that. But this is pretty. That's what we're looking for. So we'll come back at you when this cures up. For me, it's night, so I'll wait till the morning. And I'm going to lay down a layer right here by the beach. A pretty thick layer. Right up near it. You see those cells there? I let this resin sit for 20 minutes before I did this. Now, I want to do a little bit more, but further back. I want to do some over here by this. White caps out here now. I got the deep water wave going on. Now, because I made it thick, can you see that line of demarcation right here? Yeah. Now, when I put another layer of resin over the top, it'll smooth all that out, but you'll still be able to see that. So you got this undertow right here, and then this one, and then if I have time and space, I may do another one back a little bit further to give it even more of a... I think I'm ready for the last layer. Didn't mix up very much at all. I want a little bit of wave action right in here. Put down my clear, which I did not mix up very much, but I let it set for a while to get thick. And I notice after I blow over it and I stop, it comes back so that it causes that third wave. So I got one here, and a wave out here, and a wave. You know, if I had a little bit more, I could put it over there. The turtle, sea turtle, is still, we'll still be able to see him. The fish has a little bit of white caps over the top there, but you can still see it clearly. So when I come back in, I'm going to do one more pour. The starfish is going to go right there. When I come back, this will all be, they'll be all stuck down really good. Okay, starfish on the one in the middle, and then this little one, this caracol. I have now finished my last wave, and we're basically done other than the top coat. So this is going to be nice. It already looks really cool, except you can see the different bumps and stuff because of that. But once I put that top coat over that, it'll seal it all in there nice. Okay, cool. We are back for the final pour. About 3.5 ounces of the turquoise, and about half of that in clear. And I'm going to start pouring. I don't know if I'm going to end up using it all. I don't know how much more room is left, but this is going to be the final pour. This is going to be the flood coat, hopefully. I don't have to make any extra. I think with the parts that I put in there earlier, it's going to fill up really fast. Now can you see what this resin, that flood coat, is doing to those waves underneath? Man, it looks pretty. It looks almost like you're out on the ocean itself. And you know, I had I think just the right amount of that turquoise. Now, get up here. Make sure I cover those extra shells that I put in. There's one of them right there. And there. And there. Now there's still a little bit of gaps going on right here, but this is going to self-level and it'll fill those in. In fact, if you're looking, well, I can see it from the angle I'm at because there's a glare. You might not be able to see it on the camera, but it is filling in nicely, and I think I calculated that perfectly. There, that filled in. Hey, yee doggy. Now, this shell that I put in last and that one are still just a little bit above, and these two bigger shells are above. But other than that, we just wait until it cures now. Yay! And they look pretty. Think you can do this? I know you can. Give it a try. Maybe not on something this large. Maybe try something on like on a coaster or a small mold. Let's Resin sells many of those, so you can try your hand on something smaller, and then when you want to do something bigger, you can do that. I can still see my turtle, and I can still see the fish. And notice how it's graded from the darker, where I used that resin dye, to the regular turquoise color, to the clear. This is pretty. Okay, there are a few bubbles that are going to keep coming up. They'll pop on their own, but other than that, we just wait for it to cure up. Okay, we'll see you when it's all, well, probably 12 hours from now. I put a dust cover over this to keep any bugs and stray dust particles that may come out of my air conditioning vent. And we have a completed piece. Let me take it out of this mold. Pretty. You can see the turtle there and the fish up there. This resin is super clear. Look at it from the edge. You can see the The starfish floating right there. And you can sort of see the waves through the edge. I will take it outside and get some pictures in the sun, because inside here it's not doing it justice. Now there are a few places here where I will just take a fingernail file and knock that edge off. But other than that, I am very satisfied with this project. I hope I have been able to help you understand the process of doing different layers to achieve the wave results, so that you have deep water waves as well as breakers on the top and those that are coming up onto the shore. Yeah. Okay. Looking forward to another one with you. Base Resonator. See ya.